connecting assets in the community. I'm Jill Horner. This is Comcast Newsmakers. With me is Mayor Jerry Freed of the Township of Montclair. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
There's a movement underway in many different communities to better identify assets within the community and then better connect those assets. Talk to us a little bit about what this actually means, how you identify assets and then better connect them.
Well, Montclair, we've been fortunate to get a grant from New Jersey Department of Transportation to redo our land use and circulation elements of our master plan. You know, what that means is we have consultants who have come in and they've created workshops, done meetings in the community, and done a lot of mapping so that we can look at what we have, the resources we have, train stations, shopping areas, parks, libraries. What do we have, and what's the best way to get people moving in a vital way throughout our township? And this is a new program, and it's really a way to kind of use planning as a tool for, particularly in built-out communities, to show how you can make the most of what you have already rather than talking about development in terms of what new things can we build, because this is really about smart growth. It's about not necessarily trying to build new roads and creating new infrastructure, but really trying to use the assets we have.
So when you have a built-out community like yours and you're looking at the concept of smart growth, where then do you start? After you identify assets like train stations and libraries, how do you work to better connect them when you already have a built-out community?
Well, I think the key is to look at what they call smart growth development in terms of an entire circulatory system. You know, they talk about major arteries, big roads, and also mass transit, train lines, all these important assets. But it's also important to connect people up with these assets. And I think of complete streets as the capillary system for the circulatory system that is a whole region. And in Montclair, these land use and circulation meetings have focused on how people get from their homes to the parks, to the schools, to the libraries. So you look at maps and you find trouble spots, streets that are very hard to cross, places that are appealing. Every community has many streets that are already, quote, complete. They're nice places for people to go and walk and bike and take their families. What you want to do is maximize the assets you have already and find those danger areas. And it's fairly easy when you get people together to talk about, well, I know I can't really get to the park from this street because it's too dangerous. And then you start doing very simple things like road diets, which narrow the driving path, the lanes for the cars, bump outs to create shorter distances for people to cross. And then very simple things like shoulders to multi-use shoulders to slow traffic speeds and make the community more walkable, and that makes it more economically vital as well.
Now, you mentioned a grant. How will this grant help you to better identify these assets and then make some of these changes potentially?
Well, every community has a master plan. You're required to adapt it and republish it every 6 years or so. Very often these documents just sit on the shelf. When I ran for office 4 years ago, I read the master plan very thoroughly. It was a great document for Montclair. I think for most communities, they're very well prepared documents. By focusing on land use and circulation as we are through this NJDOT grant, it moves us closer to having a real implementation strategy for the master plan. That's the problem with these documents. Often they just sit up on the shelf and they don't really get pulled out very often. By focusing on circulation and connectivity, there'll be actually a focus on how we connect up the assets we have, and it'll be much more of a working document for the township planner, for the township engineer, and also the future governing body to look at and say, you know what, that's right, there's a park here that could be more utilized. What can we do to the roads near it to be able to draw more people to it, and therefore make the community more valuable and the properties in Montclair more valuable as people see the assets and they're able to use the assets we have more effectively.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you.
We've been talking with Mayor Jerry Freed of the Township of Montclair. I'm Jill Horner.